Garrett, thank you very much for your presentation. And we too are excited for this live portion with you. So what was, if you think when you're, pull your finger and see if you can stretch it. If you can stretch it, then it's lucid dreaming. That's the trick. So should we all try that right now to make sure we're here?
Yeah.
No, it's here. Okay.
Yeah.
A question was, do they typically continue to do lucid dreaming? Is this something that continues?
Well, I can tell you about this particular group, these 49 folks in the study. They formed it's a Facebook type of group thing where they continued to stick together as a group afterwards and for sure continue their lucid dreaming. That's just something I heard from them. So in this one case, yeah, there was a lot of interest and for sure intent to continue working in the lucid dreaming.
And then I wanted to share, we got a few more questions here, but just a comment from one of the attendees saying that they're a two-tour Vietnam veteran with PTSD and acute depression disorder, and they found this extremely informative. They have a few books of lucid dreaming, which they now intend to move to the top of the reading list, and they want to thank you for the insight.
Fantastic.
So I thought you'd like to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, we're going to be doing this next phase, randomized controlled trial. So if this person or anybody else listening wants to be part of that, stay tuned to the IONS webpage for participate in research page, and we'll be recruiting hopefully in a couple of months.
And can somebody put the IONS page in the chat just so they're aware of that? And then Garrett, off by head, do you know the main URL so they can get to that website?
Yes, it's noetic.org.
There you go. I think you're right. And if I see it show up in the chat, I'll repeat it as well. If somebody can post that link, that would be great. Question for you. Robert Wagner discusses exploring your personal beliefs, traumas, and unconscious mind by using lucid dreaming and exploring dream characters. Does this approach relate to the work you did?
Yeah, Robert Wagner is an awesome teacher. He actually has a program that's offered through IONS, the experience side of things. So there's online workshop I know that occurred last year or earlier this year with Robert Wagner, and I imagine there'll be more to come. So it's very much related. Again, this particular pilot study focused on healing lucid dream, and we had recruited a particular type of participant for a particular type of healing. But the approach to the healing was very non-specific, transforming your trauma. So exploring dream characters, I'm not, exactly familiar with what that particular technique that Robert Wagner talks about, but I'm certain it has overlap. For example, what Charlie Morley would say in, when you meet a scary monster in a nightmare is to try to, don't run, don't fight, try to resolve it, try to embrace the monster, give it a hug and melt it into a puddle of love and butterflies and all that. So I'd say that there's plenty of overlap, although I can't speak specifically to that technique.
Okay. And then you may be able to, I'm going to read it, but it may be easier for you to, I'll say it, but it may be easier for you to read this one in the chat. From Dajing says, if lucid dreaming is another kind of neurophysiological condition that deviates from the normal sleeping ones, and the condition of being in the latter state has affected the condition of being in the former state, that can mean some kind of neurophysiology was common to both, and a neuroplasticity might have occurred in the latter state to have impacted the former state. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much sense that makes, but if you can comment.
That makes perfect sense. And there is one published paper. So there was a paper published in Medical Hypotheses where it specifically hypothesizes neuroplasticity. It was a case report of a single healing lucid dream that resolved. I'm so sorry. I'm not recalling the exact reference, but that idea of neuroplasticity has been hypothesized and published in Medical Hypotheses, so it makes a lot of sense.
And are there limitations to this healing? Like what if, or put it another way is there a ceiling to this? What can we, what do you speculate for the future? Because, there's the Newtonian physical healing. People go to surgery, take drugs. But is there an idea of what is possible? What kind of healing and changes can make using this form of lucid dreaming and healing?
That's a really good question. So I don't have any professional ability to answer that better than anybody else, but I can give my personal opinion. And I think it's basically in the same realm as self-healing. So I think that the limits of self-healing, I think that I'm pretty liberal with where that limit would be. And that could be a long discussion, but I think that lucid dreaming would be the same. I think it's one of the ways to access self-healing. And it may be more potent, as I mentioned, the kind of result we got was similar to other clinical measures, except that usually those last longer than a week. So there's, in terms of what we've seen, to speak about it, other than just my personal opinion, say it's possible that the limit isn't different, but it might be more potent or for particular people in certain situations. And then I'd comment something that Charlie Morley mentioned from his Tibetan training is they say that in lucid dreams, we have 7 times the mind power. So whatever that means, maybe we'd have 7 times the healing power.
It certainly would help with some of the medical cost issues that we have when it comes to healthcare. So it's a good act. Sometimes we have to think outside the box, and we put our own limits on you. It makes me think of, and I can't remember his name, but when we broke the 4-minute mile, remember we thought it was humanly impossible. So it was humanly impossible until somebody decided, no, it isn't. And then I think it was 3 weeks later, the second person broke that 4-minute mile. So we're looking for your research and the healers out there to train other people to set new limits. So that would be something to dream for. Garret, thank you very much.